All right, here we go. It is, oh my goodness, it is June 23rd. And yeah, it took me a while to get over onto this Zoom. I was on another Zoom. Remember last week I was saying that I had another webinar. It's like every time I do another webinar, I get another one. It's like the momentum is crazy. So just wrap this one up. And to Richard's point about, having the right customer base and marketing to the right customers, the last couple of webinars that I did, it was, I was invited in and I didn't really know the client base, the customer base, and it wasn't the right customer base. It was like we brought in a bunch of new customers, which was great, but they're not the right customers. We had high refund rates, high cancellation rates. And it was just like, why do you even start if you're not going to do this? And almost every one of them we looked at them prior to them canceling or prior to us canceling them. None of them did anything. They didn't even use the stuff. So I don't know what it was. They were definitely buyers, but they were the wrong buyers. So it's like you've got to, and the one that we did today, I could totally tell it was the right buyer group because they were asking the right questions and they were serious and they were signing up. We had a really good sign up rate on the actual webinar today. So that was really good. And that tells you, you're speaking to the right audience and you're speaking the right language. So super important.
John?
Yeah.
Hey, could you do me a favor and elaborate a little bit on what was it that you did that acquired the wrong customers and what kind of misled you to think that they would be valid users and it turned out they weren't?
Gotcha. Well, it was really just a lack of vetting on my part, really. That's all it comes down to. I hadn't done a webinar in a while. So it was like the first warm body that showed up. You're like, yes. And that's exactly what it was. It was nothing short of that. I didn't check it out. I didn't ask the right questions. I just said yes. And, we went through the motions. Not a big deal because it didn't take a lot of prep for me. I already have the webinars set up. So it was minimal prep. And we did get a few customers out of it. So
John, I'm sorry to belabor. I'm not looking for the reveling in the mea culpa of John. It's more like since I think most of us would be gratified if we went on a webinar and people started buying our product. Mm-hmm. What do you think indicated? I know you touched on it, but I'm looking for a little deeper. What was misaligned, do you think? And when did you first get the sense that these weren't the right customers? How did you figure that out?
Okay, gotcha. So the first thing that told me I was misaligned was they weren't SEO people and they were buying an SEO product. So they didn't get it. They didn't, everybody loves SEO. They love the idea of it. When I talk about SEO, every warm body on the planet will go throw their hand up. Yeah, I want that. But SEO, you got to be a different bird to buy SEO products and actually do SEO. It takes a really special character to do that. And these were not those special characters. They love the idea of it, so they bought the product, but then, they expect miracles. And I'm very clear in all my webinars that this is not a miracle. This is an enhancement to something that will make your hard work pay off. And here I got a bunch of people that have no intention of doing any hard work. And I can tell you right now, it's not going to pay off for them. And that's exactly what happened. And, once they got into the program, I knew immediately by the support questions I knew instantly just by the interactions. I'm like, oh my God, do I really need to answer that question? That's the wrong audience. So is that more helpful?
Yeah, so it's wrinkle cream, not anti-aging fountain of youth.
Yeah, exactly. It was just, and I'm really clear about the stuff too. When I do the webinars, I'm very clear about what it takes and that this is not a magic bullet. And
And was it Site Pop?
Yeah, it was Site Pop specifically that we were selling on the webinar.
Okay, Jim has a question. I'll yield. Thanks.
Yeah, I put this in the chat, but so we're covering, what are people saying? What are they doing that helps us identify prospects that we want to avoid or not waste our time with? The other side of that question is, what questions did people ask recently that told you they were good prospects?
Okay. So the questions that were on there today that I know that, that they're good prospects is they were asking specific questions about what type of keywords or buyer keywords, because we touched on buyer keywords. So just the fact that they would even ask that, it tells me, okay, this is somebody that's really into SEO, talking about what types of keywords. They were talking about the difference between the generic and the long tail. So it's the languaging. And this goes to Jim and also Roger. It goes back to your analysis of your avatar. It's like, well, that's one of the key things. What language do they speak? Are they speaking the right language? And when you speak the language, do they understand it? So if I'm talking to a group that's not SEO, I will speak a different language for them because I know they don't speak SEO. And today I got to speak SEO because they got it. So that tells me, I'm in the right room. And I could have easily found that out by just having a 10-minute conversation with the guy that put me on the webinar on the last couple of them. And I was just lazy. I just didn't do it. Just like, yeah, throw me in the deep water and I can swim in any tank. So
it's ironic, John. Teresa and I were talking about exactly that topic before you got on the webinar here, before you got on this meeting, is that I had a profitability consulting company for a long time, and I got unbelievable results because I walked in because they had the wrong, they filled their pipeline with crappy people, so
yeah. Well, it's a specific lesson in the ACT program. It's like you can look at your whole pie of all of your customers, and it generally goes to the whole 80-20 rule. 80% of them will be giving 20% of your profit. And if you take, and I've got the statistics in there are amazing. If you just trash 20% of that part of the pie, your income only goes down a slight sliver, but your time goes up dramatically. And that's time for you to shift gears and fill that part of the pie with good customers, which winds up being less work, more profit. Exactly like what you're talking about, Richard. You used to, do that for companies. And I put that lesson into ACT so people that aren't big companies really get it. Because a big company can take that kind of stress. A big company with a lot of people, if the sales guys bring in the wrong clients, yeah, it's going to put a little stress on the company, but it's not going to kill anybody. If you do it as a small business owner, it's going to put that stress on you and it's going to kill you singularly. So it's far more important for us to learn that lesson than a big company. And, you can go in, and I've done the same thing. I've consulted with, a lot of big companies and the same thing. And I didn't do it so much in that aspect as the angle that you were taking. I was going in looking for a problem in one of the three buckets. And I could always find their problem in one of the three buckets. And, it's either they didn't get the analysis right, they didn't create the right messaging, or they just didn't have the traffic. I could always like double their income by fixing one of those buckets. So, but when I backed up the truck to create ACT, I realized I'm creating this for a different audience. I'm not creating ACT for big companies. I'm creating ACT for the little guy that wants to act like a big company and get those kind of profits. So again, I had to speak a different language. I had to go back and change up, what the focus was, because I know the little guy doesn't even have their three buckets set up yet. So I'm not looking for a problem in one of the three buckets. I'm trying to get them to create their three buckets. And the first bucket is just that. It's figuring out, who is the right customer and what's their language, so you can create your messaging. If you don't create your messaging, the traffic isn't going to help you. So really important that those lessons actually come in a specific order for a specific reason. I get so many people that are hyper focused on traffic, and I'm like, whoa, you got to pump the brakes. You're not ready for traffic yet. And I tell people all the time, traffic is only a multiplier. It's like a magnifying glass. If your sales process has problems, it's going to magnify them. And a problem in a sales process is getting the wrong person in, pitching the wrong person. If you have that problem in your business and you bring a boatload of new people in, it's going to magnify the problem, just like Richard was talking about. You don't want to magnify problems. You want to magnify solutions. So the solution is basically figuring out who the most profitable, or what the most profitable segment of your market is. And then of that segment, figure out who is the most ideal person for you to work with. Because there's a little thing called personality that sneaks its way into all of this. You could have the right segment, you could have the profitable segment, but there could be a lot of people in that segment that are absolute nightmares to deal with. And if you pull them in, you're going to have the same problem. So that's where your avatar comes in. Your avatar is defining the actual person, not just any person, but the person out of that profitable segment. You must make sure that you create your avatar out of the profitable segment. I see so many people jump into avatar creation and they're not pulling them out of the profitable segment. So they might get the person right. They might know the personality of who they want to work with. But until you get them down to the specifics of that segment, you're still going to be off the mark. So that's why you do the market segmentation first, prior to the avatar. And then once you have the segmentation, now you dive into that bucket and you figure out, okay, in this bucket, who's my ideal customer? And that's your avatar creation.
Can I interject real quick, John?
Sure.
Yeah, just case in point, when we were working with Diesel Power, that was one of the first things we did, is we worked with every single one of their salespeople and trying to get an idea of what their primary, basically what we told them is like, what was the main person that you will bend over backwards for every time they give you a phone call. And then we also looked at which ones you wouldn't do anything for, simply because you don't like the attitude or how they treat you, all that great stuff.
Yeah.
And we continued on from there. And once we got that piece in place, that's how things opened up. It wasn't necessarily traffic. These were people willing to be part of that brand. They were willing to be part of whatever it is that that company was willing to do. And their sales increased. They went from $120,000 a month profit to over $600,000 in profit. Thanks, John. My apologies.
No, that's a perfect example of getting it right. And once you get that piece right, it's like, now you move to the next piece, which is creating the messaging for them. You can really dial it in, and you can do exactly what Rustin was talking about. You go from 120 to 600,000 a month, and you got the right people, and the business will grow and flourish, and everybody inside the business will be happy. I guarantee you, if you want unhappy employees, just drop pains of the ass on them and see how things go for you. You know, they will not want to show up for work. You'll start having people, oh, I'm sick today, or, you know, oh, I got an eye problem. I just can't see coming into work taking a beating again. You know? So it's like, once you get that, and I talk about that being part of the sales process too. The sales process goes all the way to the beginning. I mean, it goes to the very first thread of this whole thing. And if your sales process is right, and I'm talking about from the first thread, making sure you're in the profitable segment, making sure you understand who you want to work with, understanding what they want, why they want it, creating the messaging, building the funnel out, creating the lead magnets, all the stuff. There's a 1,000,001 little pieces that goes along the way. If you get all that stuff right, if you're lucky enough or persistent enough to actually do the hard work and get that right, that is where traffic is absolute gold, because it will magnify it. And, you know, when I started out in the whole SEO world, I was working for big companies that had that figured out. You know, they hired ad agencies. They got that part right. So they came to me for traffic, and they were just tickled pink because the traffic I would flow them turned into cash. It only did that because they had the first part of the puzzle right. You know, whether they had been in it themselves and got it figured out over the years, or they hired ad agencies, which a lot of them did. I wound up working a lot of times with the ad agency, not the actual company. And, you know, they knew how to sell stuff. They knew their customer base. They knew what they wanted and why they wanted it. And they got the messaging right. All I had to do was pour fuel on that fire. You know, all I had to do was go get Google results and push the traffic through, and the sales, I had no worries whatsoever. All I had to do was do my thing, and everything was great. But when I kind of got tired of working with those people, because I realized they weren't my ideal customer. You know, they're very thankless. They're, you know, they hit a point where they don't really care about you. All they really care about is their bottom line. And, you know, as long as they're fueling my bottom line too, I'm good with that to a point. But, you know, it gets to a point where, okay, I'm over it. I've got enough. I don't really need to put up with that shit anymore. And that's where I kind of made the decision of, I would have a much happier life helping people that appreciated it. And that's why I'm with you guys. That's why I did what I did. That's why I transitioned. That's why I'm where I'm at. It's a much happier life for me. And I'm helping a lot more people that are appreciative of it. So I'm right where I want to be. So I've figured out, you know, and things changed along the way. When I talk to people that are back where I was 20 years ago, they're ambitious and they're, you know, they want to make a lot of money. I'm very open with them. I tell them, I know where the money's at. If you want to make money in services, you go to the businesses that are doing $2 to $10 million, manufacturers in the $2 to $10 million range. If you go higher than that, you got too much bureaucracy and you got too many people you're dealing with a person that if your job doesn't work well, they lose their job. So they're going to be looking for every angle to cut you off at the knees and turn you into the bad guy so they don't be the bad guy. And, you know, they'll throw you under the bus at a moment's notice. And that's just bullshit to me. I don't want to live in that kind of world. So I stayed out of the above the $10 million annual income businesses because of that. And under 2 million, they just don't have the budget to really afford advertising. They haven't made it yet. So, you know, when you go down into the lower businesses and, you know, the local businesses, they're great people and they deserve help. It's just, I wasn't willing to go there at that point in time because I wanted to make a lot of money and they didn't have it. And I didn't want to take it from them when they don't have it. So I stayed in the above $2 million range. And when they're in that 2 to 10, you're usually dealing directly with the owner. The owner is still in charge. The owner still has the say, and you're usually talking direct with them. And for these manufacturers, they're not selling gumballs. They're selling container ships full of gunballs. So if I bring them a couple of customers a year, they're happy. They are ecstatic, you know, because it's a couple of customers they didn't have before, and they removed those customers from their competitors. So they will pay a ton of money for that and be perfectly happy in doing it. So that's why I was in that. That was my sweet spot. I stayed within that box. And, you know, while I was in it, I was perfectly happy because it's like, you know, you dance with the devil and, you know, you get paid. It's like on the other end of things, I can see how, you know, people with regular jobs, which I have trouble visioning that because I've never done it, but I can get it. It's like you dance with the devil. You do something you don't really want to do to live. You know, so I guess in a certain sense, I'm not much different than that. I did the same thing. It's just I didn't have a single boss to answer to. I had a whole shitload of them. Every client basically is a boss that I had to answer to. So anyway, I'm not sure how we got on that strain, but it's interesting walk down memory lane.
I appreciate it, John, because I'm going to take your advice because it sounds like a good lane to walk down.
Yeah. And, you know, it really has to do with that first part of ACT is figuring out, you know, who do you really want to work with? And, you know, the first time that I actually did ACT as a live event, first time I released it to the public, I had 65 people. They all sat down in the seats in front of me, and every one of them thought they knew their business. They thought they had the ideal business, and there wasn't anything I was going to say to change that. Well, by the end of the first session of that live training, every one of the 65 said, "Holy shit, I'm in the wrong business. I'm serving the wrong customers. I didn't get this right." And I was like, yes, I could see the light bulbs going off. And I'm like, all right, this is awesome. I'm on the right track here. I've done the right thing. And unfortunately, I didn't get the training right the first time I released it. I was expecting people knew too much. I was expecting that they knew a lot more than they actually did. And I was basing it on my own knowledge, which, you know, I had an unlimited number of layers of knowledge that I'd laid on over a long time that I was expecting them to have, and they didn't have it. What a shocker, right? So that's where I've had to back up. And I took 12 people out of the group, and I spent an entire year with them figuring out what is it that I know that you need to know to be able to do what I do. And it was quite an eye opener. It was a lot. And that's where the ACT training that is current came from. came from that knowledge of me understanding what you needed to know to be able to pull it off. So pretty cool stuff. And, you know, I talk about momentum. I talked about that a little earlier. One of the things that I'm seeing come to fruition now is a lot of you guys know Sue Brooke, right? Some love her, some don't, whatever, but she learned ACT. She was one of the first people that went through it. And she absolutely loved it. It changed her life, the way she looked at things. She got a really good job because of that knowledge. She got a really good job in Alignable. She actually created her dream job. They pay her to travel in her RV all over the country, putting on events, networking events to promote Alignable. And she absolutely loves it. And the main thing that she does is she has networking for introverts, which she has found that's a huge thing. That's a huge topic. How does an introvert network and get the power out of networking if you don't want to talk to people? So that's one of her big topics of conversation. And her second biggest topic of conversation is the avatar. And she gets people to recognize they're selling to the wrong people and they're miserable because of it. And she has been talking and teasing about the ACT program all along because she's an affiliate. So she gets people to sign up for the ACT program by doing that. Well, that has kind of percolated up the line. And now we've got Alignable interested in possibly using the ACT program as the base training for all their 7 million business owners. So this call might get a little larger. It might go back to its heyday of, you know, when I had 1,000 people on this call.
John, you may have to give up your cryptocurrency future.
Oh, I don't know about that. Let's not go crazy. I have a very bright future on that side of the fence too. But I would, you know, there's nothing I would like better than to help, you know, like what I'm doing right now times 1,000 or 10,000 or 1,000,000. And that's potentially the kind of opportunity that this could present for me. So very excited about that. And again, it's momentum. The momentum of that was, you know, I worked with Sue for a year with no pay. You know, I didn't charge the 12 people anything. I basically said, hey, this is a give and take. I need information out of you. You need to learn what I can teach you. Let's get together. Let's sit down and figure this out for all of our benefits. You know, so I basically invested in those 12 people, and some of those investments are coming back in multiple folds. You know, it's the momentum. And I know some people are not in a position where you can do that. You know, you need to make money now. And I get that. I've been there. But do everything strategically. You know, if you need to make money now, that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that at all. But if you can position what you're doing now to make money and set the dominoes up, put them in play for later use. Like, you know, I don't want to refer to Sue as a domino, but she was a domino that I set in place years ago, and it's finally fallen. You know, I talk about that a lot, setting up dominoes. I have set up dominoes in every direction from where I stand and every direction I look. I've got dominoes that I could go start pushing at any time to create momentum. And I know that's a hard concept if you haven't done it. It's a hard concept because, you know, I talk about how lazy I am. I'm lazy by design. I'm lazy because I built that ability. I wasn't always late. Well, I was always lazy, but I couldn't be. there was a lot of time where setting those dominoes up wasn't easy. You can't be lazy to set the dominoes up. But once you get them all set up, it allows you that lifestyle where you can be. So, I apologize if anybody has like following me think, yeah, I should just be lazy like him and life will be great. Well, it takes a lot of work to be lazy. It takes a lot of work, and for me, I don't look at work as backbreaking. I look at work more as mind work. A lot of the work that I've done in the past is using my noodle, not my muscles. And I learned that from a good family friend of ours. We called him Uncle Milty, and he's not really an uncle, but we all called him Uncle Milty. And he ran a construction business, for, I don't know, his entire life. And I remember when I was probably 15 years old, because I didn't have my driver's license yet. And I was already working with my brother. We had a fiberglass plant. I was making a boatload of money. And he called one day and he said, hey, he goes, I need a laborer. One of my guys quit or something. He goes, I'm in a pickle. I need somebody. And I'm like, yeah, I'll help you out. Holy shit, was that a mistake? I got to do hard manual labor. And oh my God, that was an eye opener.
That'll cure you real fast.
Oh yeah, no shit. He picked me up like 5 o'clock in the morning and brought me home at 6 o'clock at night. And we did that for like 3 days in a row. And I gotta tell you, I was roughed up. And here I'm just a kid. I'm 15 years old. I got all of the horsepower and energy of a mule, and I used to just kick my ass. And the ride home on, I think it was that third day, he was telling me, he was ingraining in me that I needed to use my head and not my back, because my back would only last for so long, but my head's going to last forever. And so I worked for him for one more day after he told me that. And then he said, all right, I'll pick you up at 5 tomorrow. And I said, no, I'm done. He goes, and he's like, what do you mean you're done? I said, I learned your lesson. I'm going to start using my head. And he goes, I didn't mean now, you little rat bastard. I said, oh, I'm a quick study. And that was my only 4 days of hard labor at 15. But yeah, Uncle Milty, he was quite a character. But that is, that's a really good concept. Your back will only last for so long. How many times have you had body aches from using your head?
John, you're doing a wonderful job of paying it forward. We all appreciate that.
But, the lessons and stuff that I've been learning it's a lifetime worth. There's so much stuff that I might know that I don't even know to tell you unless you ask. So that's the difficult part. I'd love to just give you guys a download of everything I know, but I don't even know what that looks like. So, but there's not been very many cases when somebody brought something up that I didn't, have some background or at least some input into that because of all the stuff that I've been through. I've worked in a lot of different industries, a lot of different companies, and there's not too much stuff that I haven't experienced. And from my time compression model, I can take like an industry, and I can submerge myself in that industry and surround myself by the most brainiac, powerful people in that industry, and I can suck a lifetime of knowledge out of them in about a day. It's time compression. And I can take everything I learned in that day from that industry, And that layers upon a base of knowledge that I can take to the next one. And then I take the same thing out of their industry and I layer that in and I take it to the next one. So it makes me kind of unique as far as a consultant to go into a business, because I've seen so many different businesses. I've seen all their problems. I've seen all their solutions. And it's funny how a lot of them translate from one to the next. It's like Henry Ford. He got the assembly line from going to a meat packing plant. Had that mastermind, and the meat packer says, you're not doing these cars right. You need to come and see how I run my business. So he gave Henry Ford a tour of the meat packing plant, and he saw the assembly line, and he's like, I could do that with the cars. Problem solved. So you can take what you learn out of one industry and you can layer it into the next. That's how innovation happens.
That's one of the big things that Jay Abraham does, is cross-pollination. Is you can always, it's amazing how much stuff in one industry, scaled up, scaled down, or scaled sideways, will translate directly into another business. And that, like you said, that's the innovation.
Yeah. I mean, Craig has done that. Craig Duswell has done that. He's experienced a lot of stuff out of the rock star industries. And, a lot of his stories are really cool about the way they do their advertising. And that's stuff that, again, it translates into any industry. I wouldn't recommend like throwing TVs out of hotel room windows to get attention, but, hey. But some of the stuff that he comes up with is it's just classic, and any business could go and do that. And granted, it's small pieces of attention, and a lot of it has to do with traffic, believe it or not. It's traffic being pulled out of the real world. The problem most people have is they're not ready for the traffic yet. So the biggest thing that you could learn from me is not to focus on the traffic until you're ready for it, because traffic is easy. You can buy traffic, and traffic is worth buying if you've got a sales process. That's the biggest thing, is focus on the first two buckets. If you get the first two buckets right, then the traffic will be easy. And the first two buckets will tell you where the traffic is too. Like if you understand, a lot of people think that search is the answer to everything, and it's not. If you have an audience that is not aware of your product or the problem it solves, search isn't going to do you any good whatsoever. I could get you listed number one for keywords that people don't search for. That's not going to help you. If they are like, this is a perfect example of a day spa down in Point Loma. Point Loma is in San Diego, and it's right in the city where the ships are that go fishing, the fishing fleet. Point Loma is a fishing fleet community. So one of my clients, they've got a day spa down there. They do manicures, pedicures, facials, massage, all that stuff. And they were running pay-per-click ads. They're running pay-per-click ads in the community, and people didn't know to look for them. So here they've got all these ads. They've got thousands of ads set up, thousands of different angles and perspectives, and nobody was clicking on them. So it wasn't like it was costing them anything, because they weren't getting clicks because nobody was clicking on it. And I'm like, I looked at their keyword research and I said, nobody's searching for these keywords. And they were really bummed, because they're like, oh, well, maybe we're in the wrong business. And I said, well, I can assure you, you've got your customers. I said, let's talk about your ideal customer for a minute. They lay in your chair and they talk for an hour. So don't tell me you don't know anything about them. I said, what do they like to do? Besides getting massaged and facialed and, what have you, what do they talk about? And the woman I was talking to, she said, well, they all talk about wine and cheese. They love wine and cheese. And they love to decorate their boats. Most of them are boat owners because the harbor's right across the street. And I'm like, okay, let's run some display ads in the wine and cheese vendors. Let's run some display ads in the local boat shops and in the places where they're buying their boat appliances and things. And we did that. They stopped their pay-per-click campaign. They ran display ads on those specific sites, and they filled their client roster almost overnight. So it's like the first two buckets will tell you where the traffic is. You just need to go there. So when I say traffic is easy, it is. You just have to know where it is. You go to the wrong place for your traffic, it's just like missing one of the first two buckets. You know, to make ACT work, you can't have an AC. That's an ACT. If you want ACT, you have to have three letters. You got to have three buckets. So there's no easy way around it. You cannot skip a bucket. You know, you cannot be lazy when you're setting those dominoes up. Once you get them set up, then you can look as lazy as you want, because at that point, you have a fully functioning automated sales funnel machine that now you can push button buy traffic to, and you can be as lazy as you want for the rest of your life. But you're going to work your ass off in the first three buckets to get there. I can assure you of this. So if you want to be lazy, there's your roadmap. You just got to do the work. It's not easy. It's simple, and I say this all the time. It's incredibly simple, but it's also incredibly hard to implement because it's a lot of brain work. It's not like you're going to break your back doing it, but you're going to have to sit down and you're going to have to do some thinking. You know, you're going to have to work out the math equation. There's a lot of pieces to it. You know, you've got the psychology, you've got the trigger words, you've got the things that, you know, the emotions. It's a combination of creativity and science. So some people have more of the creativity side, and some people have more of the science side. Some people walk the middle, and they're lucky to be able to walk the middle and do both sides. If you are one side or the other, and you're very far left or very far right with that, then you might need to seek assistance. You know, you can hire copywriters. You can hire tech guys to, you know, put the pieces together for you. If you're not a tech person, you know, if you're on the creative side, great, stay there. Do what you're good at, and let someone else do the rest. You know, if you look at the most productive companies in the world, that's what they do. They put the right people in the right places, and they let them do their thing. They put the creatives in a creative box, and they let them be creative. You know, if you want to destroy your company, just take your creatives and put them in a technical box and see how that works out for you. You'll destroy everything.
Here, here.
It's like, and again, you know, it's knowing who your people are. Your avatar might be an employee. You know, an avatar doesn't just mean a customer. It means anybody for any purpose in your life. Could be your spouse. You know, how much avatar work did you do to figure that one out? Look at the divorce rate. It's rampant. Nobody did the work. So lazy on the front end doesn't work out so well. You can be lazy on the back end. So
I just want to follow the John model, just be lazy, period.
I wish I could have been lazy right from the get-go. I truly do, but unfortunately, and sometimes I forget. I just see where I'm at, and I kind of forget how I got here. But I did a fair amount of work over a long period of time to be as lazy as I am. So, all right. Jim?
You and I have talked before about knowing what to do and not doing it. And I get the sense that I'm not alone in that. And when you talked about taking 10 people and walking them through a year or whatever period of time, 3 months, 6 months, and rather than talking about how to do stuff, but then also having time for actual implementation and then review and tweaking and changing. I think that you'd have a pretty popular product or package doing that. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's an incredible call for helping people, and there's do it yourself, there's done with you, and there's done for you. Mm-hmm. And the do it with you part is the biggest piece of the opportunity. The do it for you, if you get into done for you services and you're offering done for you services, that is a lot of work and it's all on you. That's not really a fun category. I want to be in that side of the fence all the time because I want to help people as much as I can. I want to help everybody. But for me to create a team that can actually do, like implement ACT, to do that, you got to have some people that are really good to do that.
And that's a big dollar item that by definition, those people don't have. Exactly.
That's the problem. Like, I know a few good guys that I could call on. Like if you said, hey, John, I need my funnel done. I don't want to deal with it. I want it done for me 100%. I got a couple of guys I could set you up with, but it's going to be $35,000 to start. And, you're going to tell me I'm out of my mind. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. But, the guys that know how to do that, they know how much work it is. They know what it's going to take. And it's not easy. They can't be lazy to create a really home run marketing campaign.
If you're going to do that, why not just start another company and do it for yourself? And then you're the one who judges and you don't have to worry about it. You just collect the paychecks,
But the done with you, that is, there's the biggest call for that. And it's a win-win for everybody because I can do that. I do that with my apprentices. I'm right there with them, whatever they need done. I'm right there to help them do it. I'm not doing it for them, but I'm there to give them the piece that they absolutely need. They don't know how to do it themselves. They need to get it done. They don't want to spend, 35 grand to do it. They've got the willingness and the ability to do it. They just need that guidance. So that's where I'm staying in the center lane with that. And even that I do on a very limited basis. I only take on 8 people at a time. I've never taken on more than 8. And right now I've got 6. I'm not even to capacity, and I haven't even told anybody that. One guy just physically retired because of health reasons, and another one just decided to move to another country and have a different lifestyle. So I've got 6 right now, and I haven't even announced the openings because, quite honestly, I've been having a lot of fun playing with the boat. So my 6.
I think what I'm thinking of is something between this weekly call and the apprentice program. So it would be kind of like a mastermind where we start at the beginning and there's an agenda of like 12 weeks or whatever. And maybe it's 2 hours a week, but it's one to many. Maybe there's 8 to 12 people on the call and they pay, obviously more than this. Or maybe even as much as the apprentice program.
Yeah, I've actually been thinking about doing something similar to that where we just do it piece by piece.
Exactly.
Like it's a product of, okay, let's figure out your avatar. Let's spend 3 days and just knock that out.
Right.
X amount. And we just go through it as a group. So and I think I talked to you about this a while back, which has kind of put it in my head, and I've been noodling that around. And then, like lead magnets. Let's just spend 2 or 3 days and just knock out the perfect lead magnet for you. But the thing is, you'd almost have to do them in order, because for you to figure out what the perfect lead magnet is, you got to know quite a bit about your avatar to begin with.
Yeah, I agree. A curriculum in order and just knocking out piece by piece would be incredible.
Yeah. So I may just do that. And
John, would that be live or live as in person, or would that be on Zoom?
It would actually be a combination of both. I got to get a hold of Chris McLean. He's kind of my AV guy, and he can set up anything. So what I would like to do is I would like to do like a 2 to 3 day event on the boat, like over at a cove in Catalina somewhere, like we did, recently with the Perry thing, and actually be able to stream it live over Zoom, which I can totally do now with the Starlink.
Yes.
It is definitely within my wheelhouse at this point. So it would be one price for the live event, obviously, because of the cost of the boat to do that adventure, but then also have the cheaper model where people could just be the fly on the wall and watch in and be part of it as well. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. And once I get Chris down there and figure out, what kind of system do we need to be able to do that, broadcast and interact, from the boat platform, I think that is probably next up on my my product list. And it'd just be a hell of a lot of fun. I love being on the boat to begin with, and it would just be a hell of a lot of fun. Even for people that aren't local to fly in for that, to spend a few days out there and do that, I think a lot of people would get in on that. So especially if it was in conjunction with something else they were already doing. And I know in the past, I don't know if there's any value to this or not, but it's something that I've seen in the past, is every time I chose a date for a live event, it was a disaster. Nobody could make it. So I stopped doing it. I absolutely stopped choosing dates for live events. I said, somebody tell me, like somebody that's out of state, you tell me when you want to be in California and I will schedule the event around you. And every time I've done that, I've filled them up. Every time I choose the date, it's a bomb. I let somebody else choose the date, it's a winner. I don't know what's to that. I don't even want to speculate.
Okay, I'll bite. How many people does your boat sleep?
I have 5 bunks. So
all right, friends.
We basically
Can we cut out, make a deal?
So five participants for that kind of an event is perfect.
Cool.
So it's a nice intimate group. It's great. How many did we have on the last one? We had Jeff, we had Linda, we had Connie, Bree, and me. So we could have taken one more. We had one extra bunk, but it's perfect with 4 or 5 people. Plenty of room. Nobody knocks over each other, and it's awesome. But I think on the next ones, I think we want set curriculum we tried to jam too much. Perry's training, he goes off the rails a lot. His training could have been condensed down into about half of what it was. And it would have left a lot more time for us to enjoy the island and just, the surroundings. And I think most people that get over there, they want to jump in the water. And, we just didn't really have time for that. We were just going through the trainings. And it was cool. After dark, we went out back, turned the underwater lights on, and all the sea life came up, and the flying fish came through, and the seals were eating them. And it was pretty cool. Cool stuff. So I think it's an experience most people really enjoy. So
if you haven't done it, I would say do it. However, John, I grew up on South Bayfront in Newport Beach. My dad had a 42 footer. He actually had and tried to figure out how, and was unable to put in his will, the buoy over in the cove for the Balboa Yacht Club. He actually owned one of the buoys.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to figure out a way to lease it out and all that sort of stuff. But the problem is, having grown up on it, it becomes like, it's fun to see on the movies, and I'm glad you guys go out and do it for the first time, but I've been there, done that. And the salt air in the morning when you wake up, for me, it's not all that enticing anymore. So I'll leave a spot on the boat, but please do the streaming thing, because that's really cool.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we'll absolutely do that. We will absolutely do that. And
I'm count me in, John.
I'm just like you, Richard. I grew up with it, but I love it. I love the ocean. I absolutely love it. Everything about it except for rough water. I don't care for the rough water. And
Speaking of Perry, are you going to Vegas to his event?
Yes, I am. I did break down this week, and I bought the ticket.
I'm not. But
And I bought the recordings too. So what I'll probably do is we'll probably do another boat event, do the recordings, and what we'll do this time is we'll stream it for anybody that can't make it out, so you don't miss out on it.
I've not seen it. I've been looking for and not been able to find anything about any Las Vegas event for Terry. Do you have a link or anything for that?
Yeah, I'll put the link in the chat here. Let me find it.
That's close enough. I can drive there, and I wouldn't mind, the air conditioned hotels and all that stuff. That works for me. At 72, bringing the CPAP down, bringing the oxygen concentrator down, and all that stuff, just so I can sleep, just doesn't fit with a boat that well anymore, John.
Yeah, no, hey, I get it. I totally get it. No issues there. Okay, so here is the link. He calls it the weirdest event ever. And anything with Perry is going to be weird. So, and this link here actually is the discounted link. This is the $4.95 link. If you use any of his regular links now, it's going to be $9.95 because the early bird thing is over. But the link that I just gave you, if you actually want to go, it'll save you $500. And it's not.
Hey John, why does he say it'll be weird?
Well, just anything about Perry is weird, and it's also.
I don't know him. Elaborate a little.
Well, he's a strange character. He's from Paducah, Kentucky, and it very much shows. And he works in a world of high-end advertising, but he is like, the way he talks, the way he carries himself, the slang, it's just like, it's such a weird fit. That
think sawdust and peanut shells on the floor.
Yeah, like the when he introduced me the first time, this is back in 2010, they brought me out on the stage at the one of the, I think it was the first or second traffic and conversion event. I think it was the second one. And anyway, he brings me out on stage and he's introducing me And the way he described me was, he said, after talking to this guy for 5 minutes, he goes, I knew he had all his shit in one sock. And Ryan is like, Perry, is that a good thing to have all your shit in one sock? So it's just like the stuff he says and comes up with. It's hilarious. But I still haven't quite figured that one out yet, but I guess it's supposed to be a good thing.
Well, I guess where I'm going is, in the 90s, everybody had to look like they worked at Wall Street to be credible. And now quirky gets you to rise above the noise. I'm wondering, is that not a great advantage?
It could be. And the other thing about him calling it the weirdest event ever, if you think about big idea, that's a curiosity factor. So just like it got you to ask, what's so weird about it? It's a curiosity factor. So it's doing its job. And Perry is really, really good at grabbing attention. That's like one of his key things is how do you grab attention? And, whether he knows it or not, he's using a lot of the big idea concepts to do it. He talks about it in a very different way. He has a different formula for it and all that than I do. But in the end, it does the same thing. It gets the same job done. He is usually very emotional. He ties everything very deeply to emotion, which is incredibly powerful. That's one of the most powerful things that you're ever going to do is create emotion in your marketing campaign. Get them emotionally attached to it. And the only way to do that is to understand what they want and why they want it. Remember, I always say why they want it is so much more important than the what they want. The why they want it is where all the emotion lives. The what is just the thing. The thing is rarely the issue. The thing is not ever what they want. They want the thing that the thing does. They want the outcome of the thing. Very rare.
He learned that the hard way because he started out apparently selling supplements. And after they took everything, the state still said, well, he still had a $3 million line of credit. And they said, nope, we're taking everything. And so he literally had to start from scratch. And so he says, I never make any claims anymore. It's all done on emotion.
Yeah. He was really good at advertising on what he called the facts, but the facts got him in trouble. So, and a lot of the guys, Frank Kern, Perry, several of the big internet marketers got in trouble for using what they call the facts. Whether they were the facts or not is, entirely something different. But they got themselves in a lot of hot water by that. And they learned that, hey, you can't do that. You can't do that in public. You'll get matching bracelets. So I'm definitely not one to enjoy a matching bracelet. I don't know. That might be some people's thing, but that's not particularly mine. Ropes maybe, but oh, that's funny.
We find out so much about you, John, in these sessions.
Oh yeah, the waters run deep.
Are you going to actually open up your coaching program again, or is that something that you're thinking about but not going to be pursuing?
I keep going back and forth on it. I've technically I do have 2 openings. I haven't put it out, announced it, whatever. I know a lot of people ask me about it all the time, and I've kind of just not been addressing it. So the thing is, in the next couple of months, I've got a lot of fishing dates booked. A lot. But now that I've got the Starlink, I can actually we troll a lot. You know, we troll for the big tuna and the marlin and stuff. So I'm sitting there, you know, sometimes with 6 or 8 hours of boredom. So I could just as soon have a laptop up on the bridge and be doing those calls and waiting for a fish to bite. And it just has to be known that, hey, if the fish bites, the call is over. We're going to have to resume this at another time. Or we can leave the stream open and you can watch the action.
That would
could
be
be
a visual
entertaining.
enhancement and impact, because the fishing is setting all these marketing and campaigns and all. The catching is where the action's at.
Yeah, exactly. You should see that the technology that I have at my fingertips now. I've never had the kind of technology that I have at this point. I have the the radar, or the weather radar, set up through the satellites now, and it can give me sea surface temperatures, subsea surface temperatures, plankton lines, temperature breaks, all of the stuff that shows you exactly where these fish are going to be. And the service that provides all this, they actually have 3 marine biologists that study all the conditions, and they actually have an overlay that I can put right over my live charts that show me the optimal conditions for each different game fish. So I don't have to hunt the seas anymore. I can literally just go right to the zone, and this is where they're going to be.
Taking laziness
That's
to
unfair.
a whole new level. Hey,
That's
John,
unfair.
I just signed up for the event. This is hilarious. Now, Perry is upselling have dinner with me for just $295, which, you know, begs a question of why and how good is that dinner. But it actually knows that I'm not listening to him because he's trying to pitch something right now. And he's got he keeps pointing at his screen in the background, and it says, please turn up your audio. How in the world did he do that?
Oh, well, you probably haven't clicked to watch it yet.
No, it came up. So this was like the thank you page. It came up for a tag add-on, right?
Yeah, so what it is, it's the screen image for the video. The video is not playing yet. What that is that's a GIF, animated GIF. So it's just got a bunch of layers. So it looks like a video, but it's not really a video.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay.
And I've seen a lot of the guys do that. It's very effective. So,
right. I'm like, how in the world did he know that I'm not listening to him?
Yeah. Well, he knows because you haven't clicked to watch the video yet. That's the whole
What I want
point
to know,
of the
John,
GIF.
is how do you do that? I'd like to do that, but I've not seen or found any widget or anything like that that actually does that.
It's actually not a widget. It's the screen. When you set up a video, you have a splash screen for the video. And you upload an image to that screen, and you upload an animated GIF image. That's all there is to it. There's no magic behind it. It's just an animated GIF.
And it is animated. I mean, I'm looking at this and now I can see it's on a loop because he keeps pointing at something. But so he populates the video, wants you to click on either yes or no, and the turn up your audio is just to probably at the end of his reel before it starts repeating again. But once that piece is up, it stays up. Turn up your audio.
Yeah, you know how you set a splash screen for your video, right? Your thumbnail. That's all it is. It's the thumbnail for the video, but it's an animated GIF thumbnail. That's all it is.
That's really a cool idea. I love this.
It is. That is a phenomenal thing that he's doing. A lot of the marketers are doing that now.
Do you want to see it?
Yeah, you can share your screen and show people.
Let me share my screen here. So there it is. So what first came up was him. It looked like he was out at a pool, and he walks up towards the camera, and then I was listening to you, and then I noticed that the screen went black, and I'm like, how in the world does he know? And so it looks like he's stopped moving, but every once in a while you can see in his shadow, he keeps pointing back at turn up your audio.
Yeah,
So you have a choice of yes or no.
If you hit refresh, it'll probably start over.
Let's do it. There.
Yeah. See, that's an animated GIF.
That's pretty cool. I'm going to use that, John.
Yeah, wow. I would highly recommend it.
That's really an awesome idea.
Yeah, I would highly recommend that. But I passed on the $300 dinner myself.
Yeah, no thanks.
I don't know that I've ever been that hungry in my life.
Right.
Well, it's exclusive access. I'm sure there's only 2 or 3 of you that'll be sitting with them.
I don't think I could
I only
take it.
charge $197 for my dinner. So yeah.
I don't think I could take it. I mean, literally, we spent 2 days listening to him talking, and oh my God, if one of us hadn't been taking a picture and the other one taking notes, we wouldn't have been able to compile everything that we learned in this process. So thank you, Jeffrey, for that. But it was, so I don't think I could take a dinner. That would give me indigestion thinking of it.
Yeah, the last time I was in Vegas, it's been a few years now, but last time I was in Vegas, I just texted him, just let him know I was in town, and he said, yeah. He goes, hey, come down and meet me at the Bellagio for what was it, caviar and champagne. They have a caviar and champagne bar, and he apparently loves that stuff. And I'd never had caviar before, and I'm not really into champagne. I'm not into that. So I went and met him though, and you know, he's got this big old platter of all these different caviar, and I found out that I very much enjoyed that. But yeah, the champagne, he can have that. But pretty cool stuff. But yeah, you'll find him pretty often in the Bellagio, that little bar out in the circle in the lobby that has champagne and caviar. He likes that place. But he's doing this event is at Red Rock, so it's a little out of town. It's a little out in off the fringes. So looks like a cool place. I've never been there, but August I will have experienced it. So
it'll be hot.
Oh yeah, but they have AC.
It'll be damn hot. Not just hot.
Yeah. Well, hopefully COVID doesn't exist in the heat, right? So
Bake it.
It doesn't.
Doesn't like warm temperatures, so that'll be good. All right. Anything else before we wrap up here today? No, we covered it all.
Do you have a minute after the call? Just a couple seconds.
Sure, we can do that.
My brain is full. May I be excused?
Yep, you can all be excused for it's only a $250 lunch, so there's a $45 discount. So
see you later, John. Bye, y'all.
All right.
I have a question after all.
Okay, go ahead.
Where's the fishing calendar? So I can start looking at dates.
Oh, I will get that up for you guys if anybody is interested in that.
Yeah, I got several events in July, but my August calendar is pretty empty.
Okay, cool. Well,
Thank
maybe
you.
we can make something happen.
Super.
All right, I will.
All right.
I will put that together.
All ashore that's going ashore.
All right. Oh, you guys have a great week, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you much.
Bye.